What this is really about is the Germans want to try and help Cameron recover from Juncker becoming the Commission President. So they want to help the British get a good job in the Commission, one of the plum posts. But Cameron hasn't decided who he's going to send, and you can't lobby for a big job until the rest of Europe know who you're sending.
Shouldn't Cameron have decided this ages ago?
Completely. This is total essay crisis stuff. And Cameron initially planned to send Andrew Lansley. I think he saw this as a way of making up to his old boss from Conservative Central Office, who he was going to shuffle out of the cabinet at the next reshuffle. Here's the consolation prize, go to Brussels and have a lovely time as European Commissioner. That idea now seems to be dead. I think they've realised that they will get a pretty rubbish job if they send Lansley. So they are now desperately casting around for an alternative candidate. What they need is a kind of Eurosceptic version of Nick Clegg. They need someone who's held a big cabinet job, who speaks lots of European languages and knows how Brussels works. There are very few people who tick all three of those boxes.
Isabel, who strikes you as a Eurosceptic Nick Clegg?
Well, I think James's point about Michael Howard, that actually he'd work well in this post, and he also, it wouldn't appear to be giving a job to your mate in quite the same way, although obviously Howard was instrumental in Cameron's rise to the leadership, so perhaps I'm being a little bit too kind there.
No, but Michael Howard's a former Tory leader, he's a former Home Secretary. He's clearly got the kind of CV that demands a big job. The rest of Europe would find it very hard to say, you sent us someone underwhelming, we're going to give you regional policy. If you look at the kind of people who are now being sent, the quality of commissioner is increasing quite dramatically. People are sending proper political players from their own country. I think one of the other revealing things about this is that Number 10 was desperate to send a woman, because Jean-Claude Juncker had said he would have more women in senior positions than the Barroso Commission did. But so far, the Italians are the only country indicating that they're going to nominate a female candidate. But again, kind of Cameron, in his quest to promote women, he can't actually find anyone who he thinks he wants to promote.
What I think is really interesting about what you say in your column, James, is that the Germans are still suggesting that we may be able to get a decent job after all of the shenanigans over Jean-Claude Juncker. The fact that Britain isn't going to necessarily be relegated to one of the lower down commissioner posts that, as you say in the column, the coveted internal market post still lies waiting. That's actually a massive relief for David Cameron, because one of the things that his critics in the Conservative Party were saying, even though they congratulated him on opposing Juncker's appointment, was that this would really harm Britain's prospects of getting a good and influential job.
Europe, you have to do hours and hours and hours of spade work, and the worrying thing is you can't go into this, you can't treat rewriting the European treaties like an essay crisis. You can't just pick them up and scribble all over them and try and make changes. You have to put in all the work beforehand. I mean, that's a real worry, but Number 10 is too slapdash in its approach to some of these things.
I think that's a worry from Eurosceptics and also Europhiles in the Conservative Party generally about Cameron's renegotiating strategy, that he doesn't seem to be doing enough of the groundwork now. So on the Commissioner, he hasn't been raising it in meetings far enough in advance. He certainly wasn't doing that with Juncker, even though he made a big stand at the end. He's very good at those last minute shows of drama, but he's not so good at that quiet groundwork that involves meeting up with people, seeing things coming down the line. And it's the same in domestic politics as well, that Number 10 won't see something kicking up dust in the distance until it's basically on top of them.
And he doesn't seem to be very good at finding a woman he can trust, even though he clearly sees it's a problem. Or he trusts him.
Yeah, I think that is not so much his fault, in that some of the changes he put into parliamentary selection and the like, I mean, in 5 or 10 years' time this will be less of a problem. But I think the Tory party's problem with women is a little bit like the England cricket team's problem post Ian Botham, which is the Margaret Thatcher is the kind of Ian Botham figure. And because you had Thatcher, everyone is looking for the next Thatcher. And so people are promoted, and Teresa Villiers is a classic example of this. People are promoted too early. They're thrown in at test level when they're not ready for it. They have an awful start, and then their careers never quite recover from that.
Yeah, I love it when you break it down to cricket analogies. It makes it so much clearer for me.